Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gersh1, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue the Horrible Reality series as we get into the horrible realities of a Chaos Space Marine. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content every single day, and if you have any suggestions, comment down below. Now stay to the end of the video because we have a giveaway. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the horrible realities of a Chaos Space Marine's life. In a galaxy torn apart by constant war, a threat exists so heinous that it has carved an unrepairable scar across the history of the Imperium of Man. The vile traitor Marines, the Astartes that fell from grace and betrayed their father, the Emperor of mankind. Powerful beyond comprehension, as long as they exist, chaos grips humanity in its clutches. But the price each Chaos Space Marine must pay for the blessings of their dark patron is a costly one. Behind the otherworldly powers of a renegade Space Marine lies a horrible life of torture and torment. These are the horrible realities of a Chaos Space Marine's life. Suffering is delayed for those that cast their oath to the Emperor. Masked by overwhelming emotions, once loyal battle brothers sense the euphoria of being freed from a forced devotion to the Imperium of Man. For the first time, Chaos Space Marines can indulge in their superiority to the human race. No longer are these pitiful and frail mortals the responsibility of a traitor Marine. Those renegade Marines, rushed by the raw power of the Chaos God Khorne, are taken over by a thirst for destruction. The hateful rage of being in the same room as lesser creatures blinds all other senses, and all they can feel is rage. These newly inducted Chaos Space Marines scream out in anger as they rip the heads off their human serfs and servitors, their helpless bodies a representation of the weak shackles that held them down. But after the bodies of every living soul lay on the bloody floor, the traitor quickly realizes the curse that has befallen him. The renegade Marine's enjoyment of the carnage lasts only a moment. Rage turns into panic as his superhuman heart begins to pump even faster than before. A foreign sensation fills the Astartes' body that could only be described as ice running through his veins. Muscles begin to spasm and he loses control. His once clenched hands begin to shake. The longer the traitor stands still, the louder the pounding of blood in his ears gets. An internal voice screams in agony as the thirst for destruction propels the traitor in a frenzy. With no outlet, the berserker is brought to his knees, and pain fills his entire body. Put into overdrive, the gene-seed organs of the traitor attempt their best to pull him back together. The offbeat thumping of his secondary heart echoes in his mind. Desperate to keep oxygen flowing through the Astartes' body, the multi-lung pumps uncontrollably as signals from the Hastemen fight non-stop. The traitor's body has not been pushed this hard since its induction as a neophyte. When finally back on his feet, the berserker begins to understand that the only way to escape this horrific panic attack is to spill more blood and take more lives. That is the horrible price to pay for Khorne's blessings. Never again will coronet devotees experience peace or tranquility, neither in body nor mind. In the absence of anger, panic will consume the Astarte, and only a blood-filled battle will free him from this agony. Inevitably, all berserkers will turn on each other. Once called battle brothers are now targets, and only their death will relieve the suffering brought about by the lack of aggression. Brothers turn on brothers to appease their patron. In the blink of an eye, the cohesion and commitment to their chapter is washed away, replaced by selfish anger and thirst for carnage. The once impervious bond of the Astartes disintegrates. The horrible reality is that once devoted to the blood god, it makes no difference from where the blood comes from, only that blood is spilled. These are the new challenges every Chaos Space Marine fighting for Khorne will have to live with. As time goes on, the panic attacks will get mildly bearable, but never again will they have the same amount of control over their bodies or mind. For those traitor Marines desperate enough to fall to the worship of Nurgle, Their joy in overcoming disease and pain will be short-lived once their bodies begin to mutate and change. Every Space Marine on the road to becoming a Plague Marine will watch as their once superior biology is turned inside out. Where once a Space Marine was able to heal a flesh wound in no time at all, the same lesion will now fester and become infected. The superior physical form of an Adeptus Astartes will be bastardized and turned into a grotesque representation of the Space Marine's betrayal to the Emperor. Plague Marines become swollen, walking bags of pus, their very skin swelling and rotting from their bones, even as they continuously leak organic fluids infected with every loathsome bacteria, virus, fungus, and infectious agent that can be conjured by the imagination. Limbs will split and joints will fuse, and the traitor will become a slave to Nurgle, who only continues to keep him alive because the Astartes acts as the perfect disease-carrying animal. The Plague Marine will enthusiastically continue to spread disease and venerate his patron, because the joy of evading pain blinds the traitor from the horrible reality that they are nothing more than pets to Nurgle. For those traitor Marines enthralled in the seductive clutches of Slaanesh, the blissful gifts of the Prince of Pleasure come with a sinister and twisted effect. The Marines will experience joy, excitement, and satisfaction like never before. They will reach euphoric levels of emotions that their Astartes bodies could normally never reach. Overcome with gratification for their new master and anger for the Emperor who could not provide such incredible sensations, the traitor Marines fall deeper into the pleasure god's trap. Infatuated with Slaanesh and addicted to the intense high produced by her powers, the Chaos Space Marines become enslaved. Like crack whores to a drug-dealing pimp, the Space Marines become brainwashed to commit the most depraved actions in order to appease their god. And the first heinous act the Prince of Pleasure will ask for his superhuman slaves is self-mutilation. What better way to show complete submissiveness than to force an Astartes to stitch his mouth and ears together, or sever a hand? Unfortunately for the Chaos Space Marine, the craving for his vice will be too strong, and it will force him to abide without hesitation. For these traitors, servitude will be eternal, and unfortunately, the gifts bestowed on them will not stand up to the test of time. Every renegade Marine, blessed by the Dark Prince, will at first experience every sensation and new situation with an unbridled sense of wonder. But as time goes on, the Marine will develop a tolerance to his blessings. The Dark Prince will use this to push his slaves to perform even more disastrous and heinous acts in exchange for a longer high. But the high will never be as pleasure-filled as the first time. Renegade Marines will search for different ways to appease their master, and different ways to experience pleasure in the hopes of breaking through a new tolerance ceiling. Lavish gatherings created to indulge in new levels of individual selfish desires will sink these traitors into corruption and decadence. Brother turned against brother in pursuit of ever more extreme and darker pleasures. Controlled by their addiction, the once proud Astartes will even turn to Xenos to please their god. Their forced cooperation with lesser beings will eat at their mind, but they will be helpless to stop themselves, because to deny the Dark Prince is to lose everything that allows them to escape the sad and painful reality of their addiction. There is little escape from the unbreakable hold Slaanesh has on a Chaos Space Marine. A life without his gifts will reduce a Space Marine into a shriveled, pathetic junkie, no more powerful or courageous as a starving dog. Ultimately, death is the only escape from their addiction, and it's an escape that the perfect prince will gladly allow. She will make death itself an experience of immense delight, a final moment of orgasmic pleasure before the soul is absorbed by Slaanesh into the immaterium. For those traitor Marines tricked into the worship of Tzeentch, every gift bestowed upon them will always come at a cruel or deadly price. Librarians who crave powerful psychic or sorceress powers will be drawn to Tzeentch, and the Master of Fortune will gladly welcome these naive pawns into his game. Curious joy will find the minds of these warp-gifted Marines, as ancient and forbidden knowledge is revealed to them, but their excitement will blind them from the horrible realities that outlawed these scrolls and rituals in the first place. These Chaos Space Marines will possess the knowledge to find artifacts of great wonder, like a sacred mirror that allows psychers to peer into the void and extract future events, but will also make the bearer blind. Tombs filled with countless treasures that turn to dust as soon as they are removed. Rituals that bestow great wisdom, but also lead to madness. No matter how powerful an Astartes mind can be, every traitor that turns to Tzeentch will find themselves lost in the confusing and endless web of knowledge he has spun. Unfathomable migraines from deciphering ancient text, wild nausea from an ever-shifting reality, and paranoia from hearing the voices of the past, present, and future. These are all horrible realities of life for a worshipper of Tzeentch. Aside from the dangers presented by worshipping their patron gods, all Chaos Space Marines must also face the general dangers that come from turning away from the Emperor. Devoid of his protection, the souls of a Chaos Space Marine is susceptible not just to being consumed by the Chaos Gods after death, but also by lesser beings of the Warp. Warp parasites will eat away at the soul of the fallen Chaos Space Marines who have not been collected by a Chaos God. For all eternity, these once powerful beings will be nothing more than sustenance in the Warp. Like maggots endlessly eating away at a rotting carcass, the helpless souls of the traitors will be pecked at for all eternity. Another immediate danger that a traitor must face is the reality that every Astarte he encounters is an enemy in their own right. From the loyalist Space Marines that will do anything possible to hunt down and destroy a traitor, to the very same renegade Space Marines in his warband that will slit his throat in order to receive favor from their masters. Chaos Space Marines will flee into the Warp after turning traitor to avoid the hammer of the Emperor. But even inside their master's domain, Chaos Gods will order their followers to wage war in their name, and these wars, fought on demon worlds, will always include renegade warbands devoted to any other Chaos God. Khorne Berserkers, for example, will gladly enter the territory of a notable Noise Marine warband in the hopes of collecting a corrupted Astarte skull for the Skull Throne. Life inside the Warp possesses another danger to the traitors. The time and space-bending effects of the Warp will test not only the Astartes' mind, but their bodies as well. Not even a Chaos Space Marine can travel through the Immaterium without the protection from the corrosive effects of the ether that surrounds them. While some mutating effects on a Space Marine's body will be intentionally gifted by their masters, there is always a risk of unintentional abnormalities sprouting up and causing lifelong and severe pain on a renegade. In the past, the life of a battle brother of the Adeptus Astarte is always filled with constant veneration to the savior of humanity. From the moment the neophyte is inducted into the chapter, to the moment the gene seed of the Space Marine is harvested, battle brothers are drilled to worship the Emperor and the Immaterium. But when these shackles of a forced devotion are broken, a Chaos Space Marine doesn't shake off the morale so easily. All Chaos Space Marines feel some level of remorse for turning their backs on their creator. From the great and powerful traitor Primarchs to the lowly Astarte Scout, at some point the devotion ingrained in each and every one of them turns to guilt and sadness. They realize they have failed their father and abandoned the flock they were intended to protect, and as a result, a life of horrible defeat and damnation will follow them forever. And those were the horrible realities of a Chaos Space Marine's life. What do you guys think? If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends who play Chaos Space Marine and like to brag about how Chaos Space Marine lore is better than the Loyalist lore. Show them that being a Chaos Space Marine, it's not all, powers and awesomeness. There's a price to pay for worshiping a Chaos God. Now, if you guys have any other comments or anything to add to the horrible life of a Chaos Space Marine, I would love to hear it. Comment down below. And of course, if you have any other suggestions for topics for this series, the Horrible Reality series, comment down below. But yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to share it with your friends on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, whatever social media you guys use. By you guys sharing, it's helping us grow, and giveaways coming soon, guys. Thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate signing out.